pain. It comes without warning. It breaks, burns, and bends us. But what if pain isn't here to destroy, but to initiate? What if every wound was a doorway? Every heartbreak, a call to alchemy? Every trial, a divine invitation? In every spiritual tradition, pain is not merely endured, it is transformed. You are not being punished. You are being called to awaken, to shed what no longer serves, and to step into the deeper mystery of who you truly are. Let us walk through this ancient fire together. Let us discover the sacred alchemy of suffering. Pain is a language older than words. It is the flame that has touched every soul, from emperors to exiles, from saints to seekers. Marcus Aurelius, Roman emperor and philosopher, wrote in Meditations, Book 8:28, "Loss is nothing else but change, and change is nature's delight." To the Stoics, pain was not an enemy, but part of nature's divine instruction. It teaches resilience, clarity, virtue. In the Gospel of John, Jesus says, "Unless a grain of wheat falls to the earth and dies, it remains alone. But if it dies, it bears much fruit." John 12:24. Suffering becomes sacred when it births love, compassion, and faith. The Quran reminds, "Indeed, with hardship comes ease." Surah Al-Inshirah 90:49-6. Pain is not final, it is a prelude to grace. Rumi says, "Don't turn away, keep your gaze on the bandaged place. That's where the light enters you." To mystics, pain is not to be escaped, it is to be entered with presence and trust. Every tradition speaks the same hidden truth. Pain is the crucible. The soul is the alchemist. And through the fires of suffering, gold is born. Before any great transformation, there is often a great unraveling. The mystics call it the dark night of the soul. The Stoics call it the forge of character. It is a sacred descent, a necessary death of the ego, the illusion, the identity we once clung to. Pain often strips away everything that is false. When the roles we play collapse, when relationships shatter, when health or wealth disappears, we come face to face with who we truly are. Saint John of the Cross described the dark night as the phase where all former spiritual consolations are withdrawn, and the soul is forced to walk blindly through the wilderness of unknowing. The Stoics taught not to run from suffering, but to look it directly in the eye. Seneca wrote, "Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body." In these moments of despair, the Stoic practice of premeditatio malorum, imagining the worst, trains us not to fear pain, but to prepare the soul for endurance. Many ancient traditions teach that darkness is not the enemy, it is the womb of new life. In Kabbalah, the Hebrew letter mem, associated with water and the unknown, is symbolic of the hidden wisdom in suffering. In Hindu cosmology, Kali, goddess of destruction, is also the fierce mother of liberation. She breaks what must be broken so the soul may rise. Pain softens the hardened heart. In the fertile soil of sorrow, seeds of compassion, purpose, and resilience begin to take root. As Rumi said, "Don't turn away. Keep your gaze on the bandaged place. That's where the light enters you." Pain, when faced consciously, becomes more than just endurance. It becomes alchemy. In almost every mystical tradition, fire is the symbol of transformation. It destroys, but it also purifies. It refines gold. It turns raw matter into light. The Zohar, a foundational Kabbalistic text, says, "Fire refines the soul and elevates it back to its divine source. Just as iron must pass through fire to be shaped, the soul must pass through suffering to be sanctified." The symbol of fire in sacred traditions. In Hinduism, Agni, the fire god, is not just the destroyer, but the carrier of offerings to the divine. Fire is the bridge between human and divine realms. The Rig Veda speaks of Agni as the purifier, the most brilliant, the all-knower, the flame that never fades. In Christianity, the Holy Spirit descends as tongues of fire, Acts 3, symbolizing purification and empowerment. In Buddhist texts, the metaphor of the fire sermon, Adittapriyaya Sutta, describes how one must recognize the burning nature of all things, feelings, perceptions, thoughts, and detach from their illusions to be free. But here is the mystery. Fire does not only burn, it reveals. When life burns away your false identities, attachments, and illusions, what remains is essence, the core, the unshakable spirit. The ancient alchemists spoke of turning lead into gold, but the true alchemy was always internal. Lead represents the heavy, base nature of suffering. Gold is the wisdom, light, and compassion born from that suffering. Carl Jung echoed this in modern language. He wrote, "There is no coming to consciousness without pain. People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their soul. Pain is the crucible in which the soul awakens." So if you're in the fire now, breathe. You are not being punished. You are being forged. You are the gold hidden in the lead of your life. You are the phoenix mid-flight. Let the fire shape you, but never let it consume your essence. In the silent theater of our suffering, there is a hidden presence, the sacred witness. It is not the body writhing in agony, nor the mind tangled in memories. It is the silent awareness behind it all. Pain is like a river. Most of us are swept away in its current. But the sacred witness sits on the bank, watching, learning, evolving. And from this watching, transformation begins. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus taught, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." And even deeper, beyond reaction, is realization. You are not your reaction. You are the one who sees the reaction arise. Sit in silence. Allow your thoughts, feelings, and physical discomfort to arise. Instead of engaging, silently say, "I see you." Return to the breath as your anchor. With each breath, deepen your connection to the watcher within. Over time, even pain becomes a teacher, not through its intensity, but through your awareness of it. When we become the observer, pain loses its grip, not because it disappears, but because it's seen in its true form, an impermanent wave in the ocean of consciousness. The sacred witness does not fight pain. It transforms it by seeing through it. When pain is stripped of meaning, it feels like punishment. But when pain is infused with purpose, it becomes alchemical. This is not about justifying suffering. It is about transforming it into a pathway for awakening. The 20th century neurologist and Holocaust survivor Viktor Frankl famously wrote in Man's Search for Meaning, "In some ways, suffering ceases to be suffering at the moment it finds a meaning." Frankl observed this truth not from an ivory tower, but from the depths of Auschwitz. He discovered that those who could assign meaning to their pain, no matter how small, were more likely to survive, endure, and transcend. The alchemy of suffering begins here, not in removing pain, but in reclaiming its purpose. The Bible, Romans 5:3-4. We rejoice in our sufferings, knowing that suffering produces endurance, and endurance produces character, and character produces hope. The Tao Te Ching, Chapter 36. If you want to become whole, first let yourself be broken. Islamic perspective. Rumi. Try not to resist the changes that come your way. Instead, let life live through you. Bhagavad Gita 250. A person who is devoted to the path of selfless action attains perfection by transforming his deeds into yoga. In psychology, post-traumatic growth is a well-researched phenomenon. People who undergo severe adversity often emerge with deeper empathy, spiritual insight, and greater inner strength, not despite the pain, but because of it. Like fire to gold, pain purifies the soul when we allow meaning to rise from the ashes. You are not meant to carry pain forever. You are meant to transform it into purpose, into compassion, into light. In the ancient alchemical texts, lead was never the enemy. It was simply the material waiting to become gold. So too with you. Suffering, when embraced and understood, softens the stone walls we build around our hearts. It doesn't just wound, it awakens. In the smoldering ashes of pain, we discover the hidden ember of compassion. When we suffer, we realize that others suffer too. Pain becomes the great equalizer, stripping away ego, status, and illusion. The Buddha taught in the Four Noble Truths that life is dukkha, a state of suffering or unsatisfactoriness. But within this truth lies connection. When we recognize our suffering mirrored in another's eyes, the illusion of separateness fades. Reference: the Dhammapada, verse 278. One who sees the suffering of others as their own truly walks the path of the awakened. Real compassion doesn't arise from comfort. It is forged in the crucible of heartbreak. Khalil Gibran wrote in The Prophet, "Your pain is the breaking of the shell that encloses your understanding." The more deeply we have been hurt, the more deeply we can feel for others. This is the sacred gift of the empath, not born of sentiment, but of scars that became doorways to wisdom. Suffering can open us not just to others' pain, but even to those who caused ours. Jesus said from the cross, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." Luke 23:34. This is the highest alchemy, transforming pain not into hatred, but into mercy. Forgiveness does not mean forgetting. It means releasing the poison we carry so we may live free. Islamic Sufi mystic Rumi wrote, "Try to be a sheet of paper with nothing on it. Be a spot of ground where nothing is growing, and there something will grow." When we allow suffering to carve space within us, we become vessels that can hold the pain of the world with grace. This is the Bodhisattva vow in Mahayana Buddhism: to remain in the world, not to escape it, until all are free from suffering. True healers are not those who have never bled, but those who turn their wounds into wells of compassion. The Bodhicāryavatara, The Way of the Bodhisattva, by Shantideva. May I be a protector for those without one, a guide for all travelers on the way. Pain, once resisted, becomes the very thing that births compassion. It cracks open the heart's shell and reveals what lies beneath. Love. Untouched, unbroken, eternal. This is not sentiment. This is spiritual courage. And in that tenderness lies the power to heal not just the self, but the world. After the descent into darkness comes the sacred return. But the one who returns is no longer the same. This is the alchemical rebirth, not a return to the old self, but the emergence of a deeper, truer being. Pain cracks the shell, and from it, the soul takes flight. Rebirth is not a moment, it's a gradual unfolding. After suffering, your nervous system rewires. Your values shift. What once felt important may now feel empty. And what once felt small, like silence, kindness, presence, becomes divine. This is the fruit of spiritual alchemy. In the Bhagavad Gita 2.7, Krishna says, "A person who is not disturbed by the incessant flow of desires attains peace. The one who walks through suffering with awareness begins to embody peace, not just seek it. This peace is not passive, it is luminous, awake, and compassionate. After the storm, you integrate the lesson. It becomes part of your wisdom body, Jnana Maya Kosha in Vedantic thought. You no longer carry the pain, you transmit light because of it. The art of mending broken pottery with gold teaches us. What is broken, when embraced and healed, becomes more beautiful than before. Scars are not to be hidden. They are the sacred lines where God entered. Don't grieve. Anything you lose comes round in another form. In Christian mysticism, this stage is called theosis, union with the divine after purification and illumination. In Sufi tradition, this is the return of the soul to its beloved, no longer veiled by ego or illusion. You were not broken. You were broken open, and from that opening, the light of your soul poured into the world. If you've come this far, pause, not just to breathe, but to remember. This journey was not only about surviving pain, it was about reclaiming your light, the flame that never left you, even in the deepest night. You are not the wound. You are the healing. You are not the storm. You are the silence beneath it. You are not the broken shell. You are the soul breaking free. You've walked the valley. You've crossed the fire. Now you know what the mystics have always whispered. Pain is not your punishment. It is your portal. Through it, the soul is tempered like gold, refined, awakened, reborn. So return to your life, not as a victim, but as the alchemist you truly are, a soul forged in the sacred furnace of suffering, a bringer of light. If this journey stirred something within you, carry that light forward, and remember, your pain was never the end, it was the beginning.